Hi, everyone. Welcome to DAGS, to our June educational program and meeting. We've got a lot to cover today, so we're going to get started. Thank you for joining us. We want to kind of talk to everyone a little bit about the DAGS Fall Forum this year. We have a new theme. The theme is the year that everything changed, and DAGS Fall Forum is going to go virtual. We have a little presentation to help you understand what that's going to look like. And so I'm going to go ahead and play that for you now. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today to DAGS Fall Forum, October 2020, the year everything changed. Peggy's going to do a little introduction for us.
Yes. Well, you see the slide in front of you. We're so excited about, well, not the change, but the way it's going to turn out. Feeling really good about the virtualness, the decision made to go virtual. And I swear, Susan and Kathleen are little phenoms about getting us rolling and doing the virtual things and the networking rooms. So we're really wanting to promote the fact that we're really doing all the same things as last year and more. Here we go. You can read this, but you know what we still are going to have is the presentations from wonderful speakers on very pertinent and relevant topics. This year, it's going to all be live and by Zoom, and the sessions will also be available later on. People can get their CEUs even later on. Now that goes on to the second point. We are having ethics credits and other credits, and once again, live or later on demand. The exhibitors and sponsors will have, we're still having those, of course, with attendees, but there will be live interaction in the designated Zoom breakout rooms. And that's a really cool part you will see. Still going to have gimmies and business cards and swag, though they will be mailed to each of the attendees at the conference. And the sponsors will be providing the swag to Kathleen's address before, of course, we'll send it out a few days before the conference. Your name and logo, well, your logo will still be on the Fall Forum program. And the program will be printed ahead of time inside this Fall Forum Experience Kit. Door prizes are still an option. They will be able to, the attendees will be able to sign up on a form that will be sent to you, and you will be able to pick your random winner and be in touch with them. So you'll still get to have that chance to have a conversation with the person and plug your agency. The last thing is we'll still are definitely having our scholarship winners, and that will be a presentation that you'll get to see online. We're really excited.
And now let's talk a little bit about our Fall Forum Experience Kit. So we're going to be mailing it to each attendee the week of the event, so we'll need your things about 2 weeks beforehand. It will all fit inside a box that will be mailed. It'll include the DAGS event program, your business cards, and then you can also include a small swag item. Can you see my box here that I'm showing you? And then these are the kinds of things that you can put in the Forum Experience Kit with your swag on. So this happens to be a little wine bottle blind tasting kit. You'll be able to put in, you know, little bags with your logo on it, nail file, toothbrush with your logo. I love this one. It actually, I take it to all of my events and put scissors and things like that in it, and tape. Sunglasses. Can you see my sunglasses? Woohoo! We got the swag going on here. So, what do you call this? A little first aid kit. I've got 2 different kinds here. You can put in Kleenex. You can put in, this is a little scraper for the kitchen, and you can see it's got a logo on it. This is a little spatula for the kitchen. This is one of my favorite items. another spatula that I got at an event. You can put in mints, all kinds of things. You can even put in a face mask if you really wanted to. And there it goes into the box. And you can see that if you keep your items small, Susan, will you advance to the next slide for us, please?
Surely will.
Items small, we can fit them in the box. So we've given a little bit of criteria so that each of you will have a good understanding of some of the items that you can put in. So things like pens and an oven mitt, so anything that's small and thin. Small and thin. I even have this little hand sanitizer here. You can see there's a business card attached to it with a little carabiner. Those are all the kinds of things that you can put in. Things that we don't want to see are large items that are bulky, such as mugs and tumblers, because it's hard to fit 10 mugs and tumblers into one little kit. So we're going to need approximately 300 items from each exhibitor or sponsor who wants to include swag in our experience kit. It is not mandatory. And if you don't have a swag item, you can still send your business cards. The maximum dimensions are 10 by 6 by 2. And if you look at this, this is actually a fairly large item, but it lays flat, and so it's easy to put it in. So it actually still works. And if you're unsure if your item meets our criteria, just email me or call me and send me a photo with the dimensions, and I will take a look and see if it fits the criteria. Any questions on that? All right. And then we have our exhibitor packages. So those of you who are on the call were either a silver, gold, platinum, or diamond sponsor last year. I want to cover what our bronze exhibitor package covers because you will be getting that in your package as well. And so our bronze exhibitors will have their name printed in the forum program. They'll be recognized during the forum on a slideshow. Their listing will be included on the DAGS website for 1 year. Their business cards and swag will be mailed to the attendees in our experience kit. The forum registration and annual DAGS membership for 2 people will be included. And then our silver sponsors are going to get everything that the bronze exhibitors get, but they're going to get a lot more. So they're also going to get an interactive exhibit on DAGS.org for 1 year. They're going to be able to host a live interactive virtual networking room during the forum. They're going to have their logo included on the marketing materials and in the forum program. And as a reminder, that forum program will be printed. They'll also get recognition on DAGS social media. So we've got our Facebook page and our LinkedIn. The gold sponsors will get everything the bronze exhibitor has, everything the silver sponsor has, and then they will also get, in their interactive exhibit, they will also have the ability to include Bitmoji and then additional links in their interactive exhibit room. And we're going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. Our platinum sponsors are going to get everything the bronze gets, everything the silver gets, and everything the gold gets. And then they're also going to get more. So their interactive exhibit room is going to have customized graphics. It's going to have additional links going to either their website or to brochures or to a video of their choice, things like that. They're also going to have their logo on the inside front cover of the printed forum program and placement on the DAGS.org premium placement. So they'll be spotlighted more on DAGS.org for their exposure. And then our diamond sponsor is there's only one spot available, and they're going to get everything that everyone else is getting, and they're also going to get a totally customized interactive exhibit. They're going to get all kinds of links to all kinds of materials that they want people to see. They're going to have their logo on the front cover of the printed forum program, just like always, and they will also get premier placement on DAGS.org for 1 year. And now I think Susan is going to tell you all about the interactive exhibits.
Yes, so Kathleen kind of mentioned these, and you're probably wondering, what in the world does that mean? We're really excited about it. We think it's going to be just an amazing new way of connecting with the people who are attending the forum and with other exhibitors. So this year, what we're going to do is create these interactive exhibits that will include a link to your website, your email, your social media sites. At the forum, during the breaks, you're going to have an opportunity to interact with the participants at the forum in your virtual room. And then this room will be hosted on DAGS.org for the next year. And so even if someone wasn't able to attend the forum, they can still come back, go to the DAGS website, click on this, and kind of interact with you virtually and find out more about your organization. So what does this mean? This is kind of just a template for a forum, the Silver Sponsor Interactive Exhibit. And so it's going to have, I'm going to show you this next one because I did this one for Apple Care and Companion. They're a silver sponsor. And so basically you would have your link to your website with an image of your website on the computer screen. Then you have two picture frames on one on either side where we can put whatever image you want to place there. It could be a screen capture from your website or something that you printed or something that we designed specifically for this, but we'll put an image on each of these photo frames, and then that image is actually a link. So if we click on that, it's taking us right to Lori's website where we see her information that she wants, what she wants linked to that. Same thing with her website here. We've got her logo, so we're connecting to her Facebook page, we're connecting to her website. This other where it says ready, trained, and equipped, this goes to a video of an interview that she did with Kathleen, so that's really awesome. This door with the apple for her, since Apple Care and Companion, apples are her thing. If you click on here, you go to a Google form that is a door prize entry. And so you as the sponsor would have access to that, and this is how you would receive all the information of the people who want to enter your door prize drawing. And then we're kind of recommending for your door prize drawing that maybe you select something like an online gift certificate or something like that that you wouldn't have to deliver or meet up for. I mean, if you want to do that, you could too, but it would just kind of make it easier. And then we've got this little phone icon, and if you click on the phone icon, it's going to take you to her, how you can contact her through her website. So everything is linking back to her website, to the other things that she wants people to see, and that she would normally have at the Fall Forum. These things would be available on her exhibit table. So now we've got them in a format that people can go directly to the website to find, they can email directly, or they can even print these things out or keep them on, keep that as a record so that they have that information for the future. So this is really just a listing of everything that Kathleen mentioned in that other spreadsheet of what goes along with this silver sponsorship. We're limiting that to 10 people maximum. And then, like we said, it includes that silver interactive exhibit. And then also, you will have that opportunity to host your interactive exhibit in a virtual networking room during the forum. So during the breaks, you can put that up on your screen. People will come into your room and you'll be able to interact with them just like we're doing now over Zoom. So that's the silver. Here is kind of the template for the gold sponsorship. You can see we've got additional image here, and then you can add a flyer or invitation. It has links to your social media sites. And then we'll also, either if you have a Bitmoji, or we will create for you a Bitmoji so that you have something that looks, a little more personal as you're interacting with the participants. So here is an example that I did for our business, John McNair, Dallas Law. And so on our page, you can see John's Bitmoji there. We have our social media links. and those are live. We have a link to our About Us page on our website. We have, you can click on and get a printable version of our guide to Texas Medicaid. Hold on.
I got it.
Oh, there we go. I had to be able to click back off that. We have a guide to VA pension. Here it would take you to, again, our website where those specific topics that you've clicked on, they can read up more about that. This is a list of our speaking topics. That's what we chose. You could put your brochure, you could put whatever, an event that's coming up, whatever you want on that. And then we have our door prize link as well. For this, you don't see a little telephone. Instead, if you click on John, you'll get a link to his email. And so this page, again, would be available during the forum. People would come into a Zoom room just like we're doing now, and we would be able to chat, and I could kind of walk them through what we have, ask them questions. What are you interested in? Oh, I'm interested in nursing home Medicaid. So I can show them, oh, look, you would click here, and that would take you right to that Medicaid guide. You can print that out. But then we also can just chat as well. So we can do that during the forum. And then this page with these interactive links will be available on the DAGS.org website for that whole year following the forum. So we think it'll be a really fun way and a new way for us to interact all year round with our participants. So this again is the listing of what we've kind of reviewed a little bit already with the different sponsorship levels. The gold sponsorships are limited to 6 maximum. We've already taken 1, so 5 left, and it kind of lists all the things that are available there. Now next we have our 2 more premiums.
All right, we're going to stop that piece of the presentation there. If you do have questions, please put them in the chat so that we can address those. And we can always email you later to address your question if we don't answer it here. We've got a lot of fun things planned for the forum. And Susan, do you want to tell them just a little bit more? There's some other pieces that you cover in the presentation that we're not covering here in the video.
Kathleen, your audio is really quiet now. I don't know if it's just for me, but it seemed really quiet. I think you were asking me to make a comment.
Yes, please.
Okay, and it's still very quiet for me. I'm not sure. One of the things that I think we're really excited about, one is just this is a new way to do things, and I think it's going to be really fun and really interactive. I think there'll be a great value to everyone, and I think it'll be
everyone.
super fun for us to interact in this way. But we also really feel like we're going to be able to, because this is an online event this year, that we'll really be able to expand our reach. We've always had people who've said, I can't make it for the whole day, or I can't make it that day. And so they haven't been able to get out of the hospital or out of the building, or they haven't been able to come. Now they're going to be able to participate wherever they are, live with the event, or they're going to be able to participate later, because these videos will be on demand and the CE credit will still be available. So not only will we be able to expand our reach here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but also throughout the state, or we could even have people participate and log in from other parts of the country. But we have reached out to TAGS, to the Houston Gerontological Society, to Austin, San Antonio, North Texas. We want to reach out to all of them. Some of them have canceled their educational conferences for the year. And so they're real interested in kind of piggybacking onto ours. So we really feel like our impact and our reach is going to be bigger and better than ever. So if you have questions about the forum, please reach out to Peggy, who's gonna, I think, talk in just a moment, or to Kathleen or myself, and we'll be happy to share more information with you. We can share this PowerPoint presentation or this video, or just talk with you one-on-one, but we're real excited about the different opportunities, the amazing speakers we're gonna have, and the impact we'll be able to have this year.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. Hopefully y'all can hear me better. I'll try and talk a little bit louder. It might just be that I'm not talking very loud. We now have some advocacy that we want to share with you, and I'm going to see if Emily is on the call to kind of talk about this. I'm looking for her. I don't see her. Do you know if she's on the call, Susan? Oh, here she is. Let me just allow her to talk. Emily, are you there?
Emily, you need to unmute.
There was a
Oh,
message.
there she goes.
There I am. Hello, everyone. I'm your advocacy chair. There is a new bill or an act that has come out of the U.S. Senate, and the name of the bill, as you see here, is CORES, and it has a very, I appreciate the name, Cultivating Opportunity in Response to the Pandemic Through Service. And it's a bipartisan bill introduced by two individuals from the Senate. One, his name is Coons from Delaware, a Democrat, and the other individual is Wicker from Mississippi, a Republican. And it has very good support on both sides of the aisle. Of interest to us is that one of our senators, John Cornyn, is also a co-sponsor. And so we want to send a note to him. Anyway, many of you have heard me talk about these kinds of programs before, AmeriCorps and Senior Corps. AmeriCorps is extremely important because it provides stipends for those members, and particularly 3 programs that we have that are housed at the Senior Source, and that's the Senior Companion Program, it is the Foster Grandparents Program, and then the RSVP, which is Retired Senior Volunteers. And then with the Senior Corps program, you are trying to elicit more support for giving funding for teleworking technology. All of this, you know, will help with isolation of seniors, and that's something that's very important to us today. So goal is to get this actual bill a part of the bill that Congress is trying to produce now about new COVID sponsorship and funding. So what we would really like for you to do is to go to Senator Cornyn's website, and you'll see that it is a part of this document. I do believe you have that on. If not, just go to his website, send him an email, call, Twitter, and thank him for his actual co-sponsoring of this bill. And then also you want to send one or to go to the website to Senator Cruz and ask him to support the bill. So as members, we really do need to advocate for our seniors. So please do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. We appreciate that update. So I just want to go over a little bit about DAGS really quick with each of you. Hopefully you can hear me. I'll try and talk as loud as I can. But DAGS is a nonprofit entity. We are volunteer run. We have a board of 16 people, and our board and committees really do a great job of putting together these programs. They've done a great job of pivoting during this time of social isolation and distancing. And so I really want to acknowledge and thank them for that. I also want to really give a shout out to Susan Rogers, our vice president, who has been instrumental in really helping to make all of this happen. And her and Peggy have really assisted a lot on making sure that the forum happened this year. So I just want to thank them for that as well. DAGS, kind of our mission is advocacy, education, and funding our scholarship program. And the forum is how we fund our scholarship program. So we encourage you to become DAGS members. We encourage you to register for the forum. And we want you to remember that your sponsorship, in addition to promoting your company and providing those necessary resources for our attendees, you're also providing a good service to the community by helping to fund our scholarships and support a nonprofit organization. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Our program today is Delirium Awareness and Prevention. The purpose of the activity is to promote an improved understanding of the registered nurse, social worker, and other healthcare professionals on awareness and prevention of delirium to promote quality of care. To receive your educational contact hours, attendees must register for the event via the Zoom webinar. You have to attend the full webinar presentation. You have to complete the evaluation tool for the presentation. We're giving a limit of 24 hours because I'm starting to get people 2 weeks later want to submit an evaluation and get credit. And as a volunteer organization, we're just not able to go back and do them one at a time. So by tomorrow at 5 p.m., if you haven't submitted it, I'm sorry, but we won't be able to accept them. Once we've verified your completion, you'll be awarded 1 contact hour. Your certificates will be mailed out within 1 week of the event, so you won't receive it today because we're waiting for everyone to finish their evaluations. And then once we have all of those, next week sometime, we'll go ahead and send those out. Conflicts of interest, there's no conflict of interest for our planning committee for this activity, and we have no commercial sponsorship or support for this. And just to let you all know, today's event, the continuing education is being sponsored by Seniors Blue Book, or provided by Seniors Blue Book. And I will ask Kara Steed to now introduce our speaker for our educational program.
Great, thank you, Kathleen. Thank you all for being here with us today. We are really excited to have Margaret speak on this topic. I want to, before I introduce Margaret, remind everyone that our next DAGS meeting is going to be Thursday, July 16th. And the topic is going to be elder abuse awareness. And that's Thursday, July 16th. So I hope that you can join us for that. With that said, Margaret is a clinical nurse leader at Texas Health here in Dallas. Margaret, we know how busy you all are over there, and we do thank you for everything you're doing. We really do appreciate you. And thank you. We'll go ahead and let you get started. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk about delirium. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. And I will, let me see if I'm just trying to learn how to use the screen here. I'm trying to move the screen forward. Yeah, thanks. Okay, that's just about me. I got my master's degree at Texas Christian University, and my capstone project was on delirium. So I think that's why they asked me to talk about delirium. I'm passionate about preventing delirium. So we can move on to the next slide. Okay, some of the objectives that we're going to talk about today are the importance of delirium awareness. We're going to define delirium, talk about the signs and symptoms. We're going to compare and contrast delirium and dementia because they are different. We're going to talk about the different types of delirium, predisposing factors and precipitating factors for delirium, how important family involvement is, and talk about healthy habits at home. Okay, next screen, please. Okay, so I want to ask, I don't like to just talk. I want to hear what y'all have to say. So what are some words that come to mind when you think of delirium?
Yeah, I would go ahead and put that in the chat.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm just asking them to put it in the chat for us so that we can see.
Okay. And just take a minute to answer these questions of words that come to mind when you think of delirium. And then how would you describe, okay, Confusion. Somebody put confusion, hallucinations. Very good. Disoriented. Great. And then how would you describe dementia? Any terms that come to mind when you think of dementia? Cognitive impairment, forgetfulness, very good. A couple people put forgetfulness. Great. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so the difference between delirium and dementia. Delirium is something that happens, it's an acute change, which means it happens quickly. It's one day your mom or your friend or your patient are totally normal or a few hours beforehand, and then they get confused later on in the afternoon, or maybe in the morning they wake up confused. Delirium is usually temporary. It lasts for a few hours to a few days and maybe even a few weeks, depending on the situation. The brain is not physically changed. Delirium is preventable. And of course, delirium includes hallucinations, okay, which somebody mentioned earlier. Dementia is something that's more, it develops over months to years. It slow changes in someone's mentation. It's a chronic change that doesn't go away, and it is a physical change to the brain. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Oops, that's just me.
Is this where you want to be?
No, I just want to go to the next slide.
Are we not?
What?
Let me get back to where I'm supposed to be here.
Okay.
We should be on the next slide. Are we not on it?
Oh, I just see me.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, thank you. So what is delirium? It's a sudden change in mental status. A lot of people think of the more active delirium where people are confused, real agitated. Maybe they get real cross all of a sudden, and usually they're a very pleasant person. Disorganized thinking and inattention, impaired memory. It can also be excessive sleepiness. Hallucinations, and awareness may fluctuate. Okay. And then there are three types of delirium. There's the hyperactive delirium, where that's what we see a lot and gets a lot of nurses' attentions in the hospital because we want to prevent falls, and people get real active during this time, and we worry about them falling and getting hurt because they're maybe crawl out of bed or jump out of bed or walk across the room unassisted when maybe they're not used to being unassisted. Then they have hypoactive delirium, which is one I think that goes undiagnosed quite a bit. It's when people sleep a lot. They can't seem to stay awake. They're not eating or drinking right because all they do is sleep. And then you have the mixed delirium, where it fluctuates between hyperactive and hypoactive delirium. So it's a little bit of both. Okay, next one. Why study delirium? Because it's often unrecognized. So we want people to be aware of it. It complicates 10 to 15% of our patient care in the acute care setting. I don't know what the numbers are for COVID, but I think it was probably closer to 50% for COVID patients, but I need to look that up. And then as many as 30 to 40% of cases that for people that have delirium are preventable. So that's a huge number of cases of delirium that we can prevent, okay? There's a lot of negative outcomes from delirium. So we can go on to the next slide. The negative outcomes, which you can see from the slide, are increased risk of death, which to me is one of the top worrisome things, is increased risk of death. Prolonged hospital stays. Nobody wants to be in the hospital, and hospitals need to be open for other patients, so we don't want long hospital stays. People lose their independence. They get reduced quality of life. Sometimes they get discharged to long-term care facilities when, if they didn't have delirium, they wouldn't need that discharge to a long-term care facility. They could go home. Sometimes it leads to early onset of dementia. Again, I mentioned falls, risk of falling, and increased cost overall. Another thing I want to mention is post-traumatic stress disorder can occur from delirium, because people have the hallucinations and they really believe those things happen to them, which can cause them to have some post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, risk factors for delirium are patients that are 65 years or older, anybody that has any kind of altered mentation, like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stroke, depression. All of those things put people at a little higher risk of delirium. Any kind of sensory impairment, visual, auditory, not auditorial. Men tend to have a higher risk factor of frailty, malnutrition, terminal illness, multiple comorbidities like diabetes, heart failure, COPD, and people that have alcohol abuse can be at higher risk for delirium. Other factors that can affect people, we see it a lot in patients that have had hip fractures, or people with COPD that aren't getting enough oxygen, people that have infections, urinary tract infections, very common. A lot of times people come into the hospital with altered mental status, and we discover that they have a urinary tract infection. So that's a big one. Dehydration, constipation, electrolyte imbalances. Again, I said COVID-19 infection, that can put people at very high risk for delirium, especially if they spend time in the ICU. So, okay. Risk factors associated with hospitalizations. Well, you know, they're here to get better, but sometimes the medicines we give them can cause them to have a higher risk of delirium. There's a whole list of medications that can put people at higher risk. And the doctors have to weigh the risk and benefits of using those medications and try to avoid them if the benefit is not there. Sorry, and then pain that is overtreated or undertreated. Those are really important things. It's important to have a balance of pain management. Changing rooms in the hospital, going from the emergency room to one unit, then to another unit, or to an ICU, and then back to another unit. All those changes can cause confusion. Unfamiliar places and noises, unfamiliar people, inadequate sleep, decreased mobility, and all the different things we put in people, the IV lines, the catheters, the oxygen, all of that can cause strain and increased risk for delirium. And some of the stuff we kind of talked about, but this slide just shows you how these things, one thing can lead to another, and they all kind of add up. And people at higher risk kind of get delirium a little earlier, but you know, as you go on through this slide, you're at higher and higher risk of delirium, depending on your situation. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I had a little scenario, but I don't see it written out here. It was on my other thing. But it just talks about, gives a little scenario about a patient, and it reviews some of the risk factors of delirium. We don't have to do that right now if you don't want to. So we can just skip this one and the next slide too. Yeah. This is a YouTube video I want you to watch. I have it copy and pasted into a website, but I don't know how to get to it because I can't see the screen. Is anybody able to, let me look.
Let me see if it'll open here because
Okay.
you have a link here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to. So.
Hi, Gord. It's Donna. I'm your nurse today. Do you remember me? I've been looking after you all morning. The most important thing a nurse needs to do when she's calming a delusional patient is to be reassuring and calming. How are you feeling? Not so good? Take a minute. Wake up. To provide a restful environment with a minimal of distractions. It's lunchtime. We're going to have something to eat. The person might need to be fed because for the time being, they've forgotten how to do that. We're going to sit you up on the side of the bed. And most of all, don't argue with their delusions. If they think there's a snake on the foot of the bed, all they really need to know is that you're going to keep them safe and take care of them.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll stop that. Yeah, that video, I like that video. I don't know if y'all could see the spiders crawling around, and her face was disoriented, things like that. And people really do feel and see and hear what they feel and see and hear when they have delirium. And so it's really important to help them understand that you're there just to protect them. And just like she said, don't argue with them, just to reassure them that you're there to keep them safe. And that really does work. We use it in the hospital quite a bit. And you're not there to tell them they're wrong, you're there to just support them. So that works really a lot in the hospital. Okay, the next slide. Family involvement is really important. Before COVID and now even, we really want families to come up and visit the patients and be there for them. Right now in the hospital, we have visiting hours. It's not 24 hours a day, but that is something that's really important. People can call 24 hours a day and talk to their loved ones and talk to the nurses. And of course, we're going to help them out as much as we can to be with their loved ones. We want to make sure that they have their hearing aids, their glasses, their dentures. One of the challenges we've noticed here in the hospital these days is the mask over your face. You have a hard time reading lips. And so we end up having to talk really loud and clearly because people can no longer read lips when you have a mask over your face. And then a really important point here also is that we reconcile the medications when the patients get there, because if we suddenly stop some medications, it can cause the patient to have increased risk of delirium or other problems. So we want to make sure that we reconcile the medications, and families are really good. If a patient's not able to communicate with us, families are really good at communicating what medications they're on. That's okay. And then more about the family. I kind of talked a lot about this. It's real important to bring in things from home, a favorite blanket, a favorite pillow. A lot of people like to go on vacation and bring their favorite pillow or something with them. So that's a good thing to do for somebody that's in the hospital. Being very clear, communicating, we talked about that. Helping people eat, giving them opportunities to order what they want and encouraging them to eat. we call dietary referrals quite a bit up here because we want people to get as much nutrition as possible. And we try to promote regular bedtime routines. That's probably not as easy in the hospital because the nurses, especially on the night shift, have to evaluate our patients often. But we try to promote regular bedtime routines. And next slide, please. Okay. So this is a slide I had before, but it's even more important now, I think. Who is your support group? Is it a best friend, a neighbor, a grandson, granddaughter, someone else that is your advocate? Those are people that we need to, so a lot of times we call and get help from people like that they just don't have a husband or a wife or children, so they have their best friend that comes and helps them out, or a sister or a brother. And of course, we have a lot of resources out there. Social workers have lots of resources for our patients, senior source companions, neighbors, churches, and all those organizations. Okay, we talked about the medications. Families and patients just need to be really informed on what medications they're taking, why they're taking them, the doses, and be able to communicate that with the hospital. A lot of times I'll write down medications, or we can give them a list of medications before they leave, but I encourage them to keep a written copy of their medications with them in their wallet. And that way they always have it available. Next slide. Healthy habits, making sure people get regular checkups, stay up to date on their vaccinations, make sure that they're eating healthy, staying active. Don't put things off when you're sick. Go ahead and go see the doctor sooner than later. Those are just healthy habits to have. And next slide, please. Okay. So I wanted to put a couple of slides in here about COVID just because I thought it was, timely. And one of the important things that we have found out is that delirium might be a symptom of COVID. So it's important to pay attention when somebody's got delirium to look for other signs and symptoms of COVID. And of course, the older adults are at higher risk from COVID. As far as the spread of the infection, hyperactive delirium, where they're moving a lot, they're not able to keep oxygen on their face, so they're certainly not going to keep a mask on their face, or remember to wash their hands or cover their mouth for a cough, things like that. So these are all things that increase the risk of spreading COVID, but we still try to use all of our standard measures to prevent the spread of COVID and protect our patients while they're in isolation. We talked a little bit about the hearing impaired as far as how do we manage difference between managing delirium with COVID and why is it so different? Because really hearing impaired people have a lot of trouble hearing us with our mask on, and that now we're wearing shields. We miss the visual cues that we normally have. A lot of times patients' families are not able to visit. If a patient has COVID and they're in the hospital, they're not allowing family members to be in the room with the patients, even when they're in the ICU. So it's a lot of decreased human contact and decreased time with people in general, and especially the family. Can you go to the next slide? I'm going to take a sip. So what can we do to prevent delirium despite wearing all this garb? Just reorient sorry, I'm getting choked up. Reorient patients, keep them moving, help them move and get around if they can, make sure they're not getting constipated, make sure they're eating and drinking okay. We've also done, and that'll be on the next slide, about innovative ways to keep in touch with our families. We're going to avoid urinary retention, take lines out as much as possible, and again, review the medications. Next slide. So this is innovative ways to keep in touch, video chats. This works really well. I've seen it work in the hospital where we've had a patient that was kind of agitated and had a lot of delirium, and our chaplain, Bobby, brought in a video and did the, let them do the video conference, and it really kind of centered that patient and made them better. So this, I thought, was a really cool way to stay in contact with the family. It's not the same thing, but it involves them in the care. And thank goodness that we have the ability to have this kind of technology at our fingertips these days. It's really a great thing to have. So thinking outside the box really helps, I think, with people. Okay. So knowledge check. I mean, we can ask these questions if y'all want to answer them or just think about it. I want to make sure you understood the difference between delirium and dementia. Try to think of one difference between delirium and dementia. If you want to put it on the screen, you can, or think about it to yourself. Either way is fine. Think of a risk factor, a precipitating factor. What are some things that we do to prevent delirium? What are some things that you would take to the hospital? These days, you almost want to take an iPad or an iPhone, you know. List some symptoms of delirium and why it's important to prevent delirium. Okay, next check. Any questions for me? Yes, delirium is not a permanent change to the brain. Very good, thank you. Carol. Very good, Amelia. It does, delirium has a quick onset versus a dementia, which is a slow onset. Very good. Does anybody have any questions? People have dementia when they come in, and if they have it, you know, and they have COVID, then of course we would see them. I don't know what the numbers are for that. But people with dementia are higher risk for delirium. Delirium is, remind you the causes. Okay, causes of delirium, it's just higher risk for delirium. It doesn't necessarily mean A means B, but there's a lot of different things that can put people at high risk for delirium, like infection, not getting enough food and water to drink, any kind of change in the environment. If you have all dementia in the first place, that can put you at higher risk for delirium. I hope I answered your question, or if that's what you were asking. You know, that's a good question. If you see an increase in delirium admissions due to dehydration, I don't know for sure the answer to that, because people don't just always get admitted to the hospital for dehydration. But we do see a lot of people that have urinary tract infections and delirium. And I think a lot of that, they do get some dehydration with that. So it's kind of a combination of things. But they might not even realize they have a urinary tract infection, but they come in with altered mental status. And then after doing the test, we discovered that yes, they have a urinary tract infection, and we end up treating that. But it's really important to, you know, stay well hydrated in the summertime, and of course eat right, and the basic things that we need to do, especially for our older adults. Any other questions, concerns?
Margaret, someone asked, how do you utilize therapy with delirium in the ICU? And I don't believe we've addressed that question yet.
Say it again.
How do you utilize therapy with delirium in the ICU?
How do we utilize therapy? In the ICU, what we try to do, and I'm going off of what research recommends because I'm not in the ICU here at this hospital, but we still try to reorient the patient. Of course, we're watching all their electrolytes and everything, but you also try to get people up and moving. Try to prevent them from being on a ventilator if they're ventilated. Keep them on the ventilator as short as possible. Use the least amount of medications, the sedating medications that are required for that. Use the least amount possible. And those are all things that help with preventing delirium or reducing the risk from delirium. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There's a really good article. It was I can put it out there for you if you want it. It's about COVID-19 and delirium management during the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. It's I read it. It was really kind of interesting. If y'all are interested in that, it's from Critical Care, and it's a review. If y'all need that information, I'll be happy to pass it on to Kathleen.
That would be great.
Yeah. Any other questions I missed? Sometimes they pop up and I don't get to them.
Yeah, I sent you another question. Are you seeing more delirium as a result of COVID?
Yes, we do see more delirium as a result of COVID.
Thank you.
And that's in young and older people.
And do you know, do they have any type of understanding as to why?
Yes, actually, I was reading about that in this article. It's what made me think of it. Delirium can also, it affects the immune system. And I put a slide on it, but I thought it was probably a little too technical, so I didn't add it in the presentation. But it can affect the neurosystem, and it can cause, so that's one thing that causes, puts people at elevated risk. Also, the inflammatory response from fighting off the infection, it's your body's response fighting off the infection, can put people at risk for delirium. And then a lot of times, just being sick like they are, it can cause organ failure or dysfunction. It can cause, and then of course, when we put people on ventilators and we give them sedating agents, things like that, that can also cause them to be at higher risk for delirium. So yes, there's a lot of risk factors associated with COVID and delirium.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions for Margaret?
Thank you, Julia. I've never done a Zoom presentation before. It's my first time and it's kind of exciting. I hope it went well.
Yeah, it went pretty well. You did great. Thank you
You
for
did
that.
great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
So we want to thank Catherine McDoniel. She's the Geriatric Program Manager of Memory Disorders and the niche coordinator over at Presbyterian Dallas Hospital, as well as Miss Stephanie Lindsay. She's the niche nurse practitioner for helping us to put together today's program. These are the references that Margaret was speaking about in her presentation, and we can make these available for you as well. And when she sends over the white paper that she was referring to, we will also make that available for you. I know that Susan and Cheryl will be happy to post those for everyone. Margaret's contact information is here, so I'll leave that on the screen for just a minute in case anyone wants to jot that down. I also wanted to share that I personally have another educational program. It is coming up next week on Thursday at lunchtime, and it is on the challenges of hospice care during a pandemic. And Jennifer Broadway from CC Young Senior Living is going to be speaking on that.
The information is available on LinkedIn and on the Seniors Blue Book website and Seniors Blue Book Facebook page as well. So you can find that information there. If you can't find it, just send me an email and I will send you the link. Someone is asking if we'll get a copy of the PowerPoint. This webinar will actually be available for you to watch, so we won't post the PowerPoint itself. You will be able to review it again, though, through the webinar. And we thank you all for coming and supporting DAGS today. Susan, do you have any final thoughts to add?
Maybe just reminding people that we have the new YouTube channel for DAGS. And so we have, I think last month's meeting is up there, and we'll put this one up there as well.
Absolutely. When the webinar ends today, the survey, a link to the survey pops up on your screen in your browser. So you want to be looking for that. If you don't receive it, as soon as the webinar ends, I want you to send an email to info@dags.org. We will receive that and we will send you the link within 30 minutes of the end of this program so that you can complete it and get your continuing education certificate. We do check to make sure that you attended the program, and so make sure that if you only attended 5 or 10 minutes, you can still do the evaluation, but you won't be eligible for a certificate. So I just don't want anyone to be surprised by that. And we thank you all for coming, and let us know if you are interested in more information on being a DAGS sponsor or a DAGS member. I know Susan has more to say, so I'm going to stop talking for a minute.
Kathleen, I just wanted to mention about the DAGS scholarships. You had mentioned earlier that all the money that we raise through the forum goes to our DAGS scholarships, and that window for scholarship applications is open now. It's open until July 15th, and so you can go to dags.org, click on the scholarship tab on the DAGS website, and it will tell you all about the criteria for the scholarship. It's open to anyone who's pursuing any type of advancement, educational advancement, from a CNA trying to transition to a CMA or a nursing program, to PhD candidates, social work nursing, you name it, we will consider those applications. So the link to the application is there, and kind of the steps that you'll need to take to do that. And again, we need that by July 15th. So please help us spread the word.
Great, thank you for sharing that. And Peggy, are you still with us?
Let me unmute.
Will you just let everyone know how many days until the fall forum? I know that you have that prepared for us.
I would love to. I know everyone's on the edge of their seat to hear this. It's 118 days, 4 hours, 13 minutes, 45 seconds. That means 170,190 minutes, to be precise.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming, and we will see you next month at DAGS.
Thank
Bye.
you.